the most dangerous job in America does not involve guns, bombs, or high-speed chases. It is a man with a chainsaw, standing at the base of a 200-foot tree, doing math in his head before the tree decides the math for him. Level 1. Chokersetter. You are not cutting anything on your first day. Let that sink in. You showed up ready to work and instead someone hands you a cable called a choker and tells you to wrap it around freshly cut logs in terrain so steep and wet that you are basically crawling through the woods on your hands and knees. This is your job. This is your entire job. The choker is a thick steel cable with a hook on one end and a bell on the other. Your task is to slide it underneath massive logs, hook it up, signal the yarder operator, and then get out of the way before 3 tons of timber comes dragging through the brush at full speed. If you are in the wrong spot, that log does not stop for you. You earn somewhere between $16 and $20 an hour to do this. You wake up before dawn. You drive out to a landing site that is sometimes an hour deep into forest roads that would destroy a normal car. You work in the rain. You work in the mud. You work when it is 38 degrees and the fog is so thick you can barely see the guy standing 10 feet from you. But here is what this level actually teaches you. It teaches you to read terrain. You start to understand how logs move, how cable tension works, how the whole system connects. You are the bottom of the chain, but you are also the eyes on the ground. Nothing moves until you set the choker. The whole operation waits on you. Most people quit here. The attrition rate for new logging workers in the first 90 days is brutal. The job is physically exhausting in a way that gym workouts do not prepare you for. 8 hours of hiking up and down slopes carrying equipment while avoiding rolling logs will humble any person who thought they were in shape. But the ones who stay start to notice something. They get faster. Their body adapts, and the old-timers on the crew start nodding at them instead of just past them. That nod is worth more than any paycheck at this level because it means you are being evaluated for the next step up. Level 2, Rigging Slinger. You have been on the crew for at least a season, maybe 2. Your hands have developed calluses in places you did not know could callus. You know which way a log is going to roll before it rolls. And one morning the rigging slinger calls in sick and the foreman looks at you and says you are it today. The rigging slinger is the crew supervisor on the hill. You are responsible for directing the chokersetter team, making sure cables are set correctly, communicating with the yarder operator, and managing the whole choreography of getting timber from the cut site to the landing. You are the conductor of a very loud, very dangerous orchestra. Your pay jumps to somewhere between $22 and $28 an hour. But the pay increase is not the point. The point is that you are now the person responsible when something goes wrong. And in logging, something always eventually goes wrong. You learn a new language at this level, not just the hand signals and radio codes. Though you master those, you learn to read a crew. You learn who needs to be pushed, who needs to be trusted, who is having a bad day and needs to be watched more closely because a distracted logger is a dangerous logger. Managing people in a high-risk environment teaches you more about human nature in 6 months than most managers learn in 6 years. The problem with this level is that it is also the one that reveals whether you actually want a career in logging or you just survived the first level. Because now the job is not just physical, it is mental. You are making decisions constantly. Every time a log shifts unexpectedly, every time weather changes the slope conditions, every time a new chokersetter makes a rookie mistake, you are the one who has to react first and react correctly. Some rigging slingers stay at this level for their entire careers and that is not a failure. They are essential, but others start asking a different question. They start asking how the whole operation works. They start watching the equipment operators instead of just signaling to them. And that curiosity is what moves you to the next level. Level 3, Equipment Operator. You are now inside a machine that costs more than most houses. A modern yarder, feller buncher, or skidder can run anywhere from $200,000 to over $1 million. And the company just handed you the keys. Getting here required either formal training through a union apprenticeship, a vocational program, or years of informal mentorship where someone on your crew decided you were worth teaching. Either way, operating heavy logging equipment is a skill set that takes years to truly master and only months to destroy if you are not careful. As a yarder operator, you are managing cable tensions that can snap with the force of a cannon blast. As a feller buncher operator, you are making split-second decisions about where a 1,000-pound machine with a spinning cutting head should move in terrain that was not designed for machines. As a skidder operator, you are hauling bunches of logs down slopes that would terrify most people just walking. Your hourly rate moves to somewhere between $25 and $35. But more importantly, you are now a specialist. Your skill is not interchangeable. If you leave a crew, that crew has a real problem. That leverage matters in an industry where experienced operators are genuinely hard to find. This is also the level where the physical punishment on your body finally decreases. Your hands still work, but your back is no longer bearing the full load of the landscape. The danger is different now. Less about terrain and more about mechanical failure, operator error, and the unpredictability of large timber in motion. Equipment operators develop a kind of machine intuition over time. They can hear something wrong in a hydraulic system before the gauges show it. They can feel the moment grip is about to fail on a hillside. They know the difference between a tree that will fall cleanly and a tree that has internal rot that will change everything at the moment of cut. This knowledge is not written in any manual. It lives in the hands and the ears and the gut. The best operators at this level start to become something more. They start to become the person the foreman calls before making a decision about the plan for the day. And that is when the shift begins toward something bigger. Level 4, Logging Foreman. You are no longer working the timber. You are working the people who work the timber. The logging foreman is responsible for everything that happens on a job site. Safety compliance, production targets, crew scheduling, equipment maintenance coordination, weather-based work stoppages, communication with the company dispatcher, and the constant, relentless task of keeping a crew of physically exhausted people focused and safe in one of the highest risk occupational environments in the country. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, logging workers have a fatality rate of approximately 91 deaths per 100,000 workers annually. To put that in perspective, that is nearly 25 times the average fatality rate across all industries. As foreman, those numbers are not statistics to you anymore. They are weight you carry every single morning when your crew drives onto site. Your salary at this level typically lands between $50,000 and $70,000 a year, sometimes more with production bonuses. But what changes most is not the money, it is the scope of your responsibility. You are running a small military operation in the woods. You have to know what every person on your crew is doing at all times. You have to read weather patterns and decide when a rain-softened slope becomes too unstable to keep working. You have to manage the tension between production pressure from above and safety reality on the ground. And those two things are often in direct conflict. The best foremen are not the toughest people on the crew. They are the smartest people on the crew. They anticipate problems before they become accidents. They build a culture where workers feel safe enough to say when something seems wrong. Because in logging, silence kills. At this level you also start understanding the economics of the operation in a way you never had to before. You see how weather delays ripple into contract penalties. You see how equipment downtime connects to payroll coverage. You see how a crew that is slightly understaffed compounds risk in ways that are invisible until something goes catastrophically wrong. And that financial awareness is exactly what pushes some foremen to ask the question that changes everything. What if I ran my own operation? Level 5, Independent Logging Contractor. This is where the career either becomes everything or becomes nothing. Going independent means you are no longer just a manager. You are now a business owner. You are sourcing your own timber contracts, maintaining your own equipment, managing your own payroll, carrying your own insurance, and taking on the liability that used to sit on someone else's desk. The equipment costs alone are staggering. A functional independent logging operation requires a significant capital investment. A used feller buncher might run $300,000. A skidder, another $150,000. A log loader, another $200,000. You are looking at $500,000 to $1 million just to have the machines you need to bid competitive contracts. And that is before you hire your first worker. Most people who go independent do it through a combination of equipment financing, contracts with larger timber companies, and personal savings built up over a decade of working in the industry. Some partner with other experienced loggers to share capital and risk. A few get there through family operations handed down from a previous generation. Your income potential at this level is genuinely uncapped. A productive independent logging crew working consistent timber contracts in a good region can gross over $1 million a year in revenue. After expenses, equipment payments, insurance, and payroll, net profit margins in independent logging typically run between 8 and 15% depending on how well you manage your operation. That is still a very different financial reality than being an hourly employee, but the risk is equally real. Timber prices fluctuate with housing markets. A single severe equipment breakdown during a critical contract window can cost you more than you made the previous month. An injury on your crew triggers insurance reviews, regulatory scrutiny, and potential litigation. A wildfire shutting down a timber sale you already bid can eliminate an entire season of projected revenue overnight. The independent contractors who survive are not just good loggers. They are good business people who happen to also be good loggers. They understand contracts. They negotiate hard with timber companies and sawmills. They track their operating costs down to the hour. And they build reputations that bring them repeat business because in a regional industry where everybody knows everybody, your name is your most important asset.